Right, I think I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Cool. Let's rock and roll. Right, so in this week's episode, I chat to Nic Sauders, who is a longtime friend of mine. Nic used to be the guitarist for a band called Visus, which is a South African metal band. Nic has now relocated to the UK, and we decided to catch up and talk music. We were joined by a friend of his, Alistair, who is also an ex-South African musician, also living in the UK, and here's this week's episode.
I know you've been chatting to other people as well from around the globe. It's like everyone's just trying to find their feet in this new world. But I think, if anything, it's just shown us, Nic and I were having this conversation around, do you actually need to be in the office 5 days a week? No, absolutely not. If anything, it's just shown that you can actually just take a day or two and just be more productive at home, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, guys, I'm set up. Everything is recording. So,
cool.
We're ready to rock and roll. And this is generally the point that everyone now gets all super self-conscious because they know that the microphones are live and you're recording. But I mean, you guys are seasoned musicians, so you know what it's like when things go live, eh?
Well, if it's live already, bro, I feel like I'm in my natural habitat.
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's go.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, you were mentioning now that you guys, how do you guys know one another? I mean, you're both from South Africa, you're both living in London, but from a musical point of view, you guys were musicians. How did you guys meet?
We were playing in the same circles.
Yeah.
Playing the same venues. But I don't know if it was out of immaturity or a lack of acceptance of other people's music. We weren't socializing with one another purposefully. And then we moved to London separately, obviously.
Yeah.
Alistair with his wife and me with my girlfriend, and we met up, and we found gig buddies, and here we are, man.
That's it. Through mutual friends, just in a park on one glorious summer's day in London.
Yeah,
and got chatting, and then as we'll chat through the whole session around just finding buddies here in London to experience the London scene together. So you're not by yourself.
Yeah,
just chilling and watching a band, freaking out by yourself. So that's how we sort of met,
Yeah, and then it all sort of came rushing back. You're like, oh my God, did you play at Cool Runnings 4Ways?
That's it.
Did you play at Tempos and these amazing venues in South Africa? Just got chatting. And I think that sort of love for music has taken us on this journey where, man, the depth of experience of London, I think, was amplified by me meeting Alistair. I don't know if it was the same for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's experiencing with somebody. I guess that's the unique thing. It's like there's a bit of there's a band playing. There's something happening. You know what I mean? You want to actually go because you're not doing it yourself. So, through that, it's actually sort of blanketed it in a way broader scope where you're actually going to see all these bands that are a bit maybe undiscovered or maybe large, whatever, because you actually just want to go out and have a good night, right? I think that's the main thing is a buddy. And then also from that, we've actually grown, when I say a mini community, I mean a mini community of a couple of South Africans where we've met at shows. And you can obviously hear a South African accent from a mile away at a show. And we've got a bit of a group here, like a WhatsApp group where we share shows. And even if Nic can't make it or I can't make it, at least there's a bit of a buddy system. So there's a couple of us going and watching shows, but also keeping tabs of the scene as well. Because it's really hard to just keep your finger on the pulse. There's so many shows. So I may have seen something on Instagram and someone may have seen something else. So we're always keeping each other up to date with what's actually happening there.
Yeah, that's cool. So when you guys were back in South Africa, Alistair, what band you were playing in a band, right?
Yeah, that's it. So I've been in the music scene since I was about 17, so 14 years, giving the age, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I have been always in the music scene in South Africa. Starting sort of 17, I was the lead vocalist and guitarist for a band called Fear of Falling. It was sort of that post-hardcore vibe, the Under Oath-esque vibe. And, starting at the days of Roxy's, in Melville, handing out the tickets at the door to try to get people in, working your way from a Tuesday to a Saturday night, all the way back there. And we did that for many, many years. We did some great stuff in Fear of Falling back then. There was Battle of the Bands and all those things. We opened for Under Oath and Haste the Day back in the day. And then when I got out of school, I was actually studying drumming. That's my main instrument. And then moved from Fear of Falling into One Day Sky, who are still going now, but I'm obviously not a member anymore, and I haven't been for about 3 years. But then started drumming with them, and we took it really seriously. And got a lot of touring under our belts, got a lot of international acts under our belt to open for them, and thought about production and the way that we do things quite differently. Clinton Watts Production in South Africa, who's the vocalist of One Day Sky. We were able to go into his studio and create and produce our own music, which was fantastic. Within South Africa, when you have a shoestring budget or no budget at all, there is no shoestring. It was just really great to get really good copy. And then our guitarist, Eric Barnfather, who's got his own production house as well, made all our videos. So we've got a few, when I say we, the band back in the day, and they're still continuing, we produced some really good stuff there, and I'm really sort of proud of those times. And then also in the midst of that, I stood in for a couple of bands, South World, which was the evolution of Cutting Jade at the time. Right. Did some vocals for them. Did some drumming for My Epic Vice. And then a little bit of drumming for Climate Control, who are also just continuing now and releasing some singles. So that's nice. That for me. And nice, yourself, dude. Nicholas?
I think you've excelled there. Jesus. Well done. Did you prepare anything? He doesn't have any cue cards.
No cue cards.
Have you been practicing that in front of the mirror?
Yeah. So no teleprompter on the other side there, with the notes stuck behind the cell phone or the laptop.
Yeah, exactly, man. I didn't study music. I wish I had, but I went to school with a bunch of guys. We started a band called Visus, and we just wanted to be a Lamb of God. well, at least I did. I don't know about anyone else.
Nice.
I wanted to be a Lamb of God, and I was hell-bent that I was going to play the guitar like Lamb of God. And some might say I achieved it, and others might say I didn't, but I'll say I got just about there. And played in Visus for about 6 years. That's actually when I met you, Andrew.
Yeah, that's right.
And you and the other Andrew
Webster,
that we used to work with. Do you still work with him?
I do. Yeah, I do.
That old geezer. So you guys came to a few shows and we did our thing, and then just life caught up with us, and I started teaching guitar. As you know, I gave you a few lessons in I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here to show you what I can do, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we were just chilling, chatting, and smoking. Eh?
Yeah, exactly. I think that was it. We're like, so cool, we're here. What are we gonna do? We're like, I'm just gonna plinky plonky and can you make me another drink? That'd be cool. Yeah, Boston, by the way. And then Visus sort of ended after we got the lead singer of Chromium to play drums for us.
Yes.
Visus sort of petered out after, I think we played Thornfest 2, the camp. And we played to a massive crowd and it was awesome. And then I don't know what happened. I think life happened, or whatever they call it. Circumstances just petered out. And we just stopped. There was no official decision. We just stopped. There was no one messaging for anything. And then Jared Gunston from Chromium, he said, "Hey, do you want to come and play the bass in Chromium?" And I said, "Sure." Who would say so? And I think you and Webster also came to a couple of those shows. I toured the country, which was not horrible at all. Experienced things that I'd never experienced in Visus. Got a whole appreciation for professional music outfit. People that do it as a profession versus guys that are doing it because, hey, it's cool. These are my mates from school, and we're doing it to this level. Yeah. To join Chromium sort of just opened my eyes to this professionalism beyond what you could imagine as standing in the crowd or being
Sure.
And I couldn't believe the level just the level and the effort that Jared put into the production of their shows, and so just so clinical, but it didn't translate as clinical live. They never had to worry about a thing. There's always the broken string or whatever like that, but everything that was in their control was in their control, and that sort of went on for about a year, and him and I then started chatting, and he was like, let's start another project and let's go completely left field. And we started a band called Silent Sneakers, which you can find online. I'm not gonna advertise it because I sometimes look back on it a little bit and cringe. But you know what? That's part of my life. That's who I am, and that was part of my journey. And this was an indie pop band, and I sang. I've never sang in a band in my life. I was always just wanting to play the most complicated riffs and solos and this and that, and I'd never thought about singing and playing and singing. That is a whole nother skill all in its own. And that's what brought me to the end of my music career, when I thought, there's no way I can have a job at De Beers or at Paragon or at anywhere that I was at the time and manage a national touring band when these guys want to do it as a profession and I want to do it as something that I love, but I can't give 100% of my time. And that's removed myself. Very, very gracefully, I might add. I just... and I mean, that was my music career, and it spanned a good 9 or 10 years. And it felt great. And I still reminisce on it to this day. I don't know about you, but I still think about it every day.
And I guess I could only maybe just side with the thought of the South African music journey that every musician takes, where it takes those opportunities to play at a Tuesday night at a club, and we'll get in the topic of sort of reducing venue sizes in South Africa and how it's becoming a bit harder. But back when I say the heyday, a lot of go play, right, to perfect your craft. And I think
tempos on a Saturday.
That's it, man. And there was some goals there. And I think, as up and coming bands, you slowly start to look at things a little bit differently, and you start to take it more as a professional craft rather than just playing to kids getting a bit drunk, or yourselves, or whatever the fact is that I think the purpose there is that I think a lot of bands in South Africa now are making it a professional position for them to have good production, good sound, good everything, whilst maintaining full-time jobs. So that's the main thing to really take my hat off to anyone that's in the South African industry at the moment, where the guys are creating insanely creative, beautiful, innovative music as well as copy. Whether it's Instagram posts, whether it's the content that they're producing, music videos, and you sort of got to take a step back and go guys, well done. This is part-time hobby. Imagine you were doing it full-time with the budget. I think there's a bit of difference there, and I think we've gone through that journey, and that journey was pre-social media, where you were standing in the university with flyers to come to my show, please. There was no real broadcasting of it. So there's been a real journey in the South African music industry.
On that note, though, I think if you'd gone back 10 years, I think it's a lot harder to do that then than it is now.
Yes.
Because now you have all these platforms. You've got YouTube, and you can go onto YouTube and you can immediately get 1,000 views if you tag it right. Spotify. You can get onto Spotify with DistroKid, for minimal effort. Sure, you put in a lot of effort to your craft and to this thing that you've created, whether it be a song, a video, or whatever. But 10 years ago, I wasn't even thinking about that.
CDs.
Just anything. I've made a demo and it's really crap, but please buy it.
Yeah.
That was, they were really crap.
Yeah.
I thought it sounded amazing. I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to tell everyone I've got a sticker for you and a CD, and have a t-shirt. But don't judge me too hard, but also praise me at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't go on Spotify with a certain level of production, or you don't go on YouTube with a certain level of video production, did you get swallowed up by nothing? So in a way, it could be harder, and in a way, it's also, I think we were offered less tools back then.
100%.
And I really appreciate these little bands now that you find on Spotify, for example, that have 300 monthly listeners, and they are creating music that I'm listening to on repeat. for 4 days at a time because it's so good.
Absolutely.
No, that's great. Yeah.
That's the point.
So do you think that those, like the advent of social media and the things like streaming services, do you think that that's made it the barrier to entry a lot easier for musicians to get themselves out there?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to discuss it as the pro and the con. So let's say the good stuff, right? Let's sort of break it down because I think there's no real answer to this, right? I think the good thing is, Nic's saying, I mean, anyone has now the license and the platform for them to go on and discover new music, whatever it may be. Whether you are as niche as pirate metal or pop music, whatever you want to do, you can get on there, and there's certain algorithms that are happening, which absolutely blows my mind all the time with Spotify and Apple Music, where you can discover new music. So ultimately, it is the greatest platform using innovation to get us to the point of broadcasting in a cleverer way. In saying that, to Nic's point, is that you can't be shit either, right? You've got to be on there and you've got to be really good. Whatever you're producing, and it's not just that, right? You'll find a band, you'll really love what they're playing, but then you're going to go and look on their social media. You're going to go and look at their YouTube. So I think it brings a stressor of the fact of, like, if you've got any new fans that are coming on, you've got to have the full package, right? You can't just have a song. It's got to be things that are really going to draw you in. And maybe that's where the negative part comes in, where, and I always bring it back to the South African scene, but like, it's very hard and very costly to make good stuff. And when I mean stuff, it's such a broad term of whether you're in the studio,
furniture or music.
But that's it. Whether making guitars, no. But like, you've got to have the right kinds of equipment, right? The right kinds of guitars and drums and setup for you to be going into studio, and that studio is going to be fitted out the particular way, right? You've got to have producers. You've got to have video guys that are coming in. It's the whole step that Spotify, back in the day, we used to just give a blank CD, man. That was it. That was our copy. Now it's the whole process that you need to be doing. And you've got to be very clever in the way that you do that. And I find that a lot of the bands that maybe just fall under the radar are the ones that just can't figure it out, right? There's maybe not someone in the band who knows how to edit a video, or maybe someone in the band who doesn't have his home studio, And I can only think, again, if I bring it back to South Africa, of bands that are maybe a bit more underprivileged, right? That are trying to get the scene, and it's just really expensive to do anything and to find help. So, is the social advent of innovation and things in the music industry good? Yes, but no.
Well, yes, I mean, you've been speaking about the yes to a certain extent here. You've touched on the no. I think the no comes into it is that when you've had a good thing for a very long time, there's a lot of people that have had the good thing. And more people get this good thing, whether that be YouTube or whether that be Spotify or whatever service you're using. And now I think the struggle that we faced without streaming, the current generation of newer bands is facing with streaming. What's the next step that's going to, like, elevate maybe 50% of those people, and the other 50% will be left behind, or be like, I really wish I understood this service. I really wish I understood how to promote myself on a platform where I don't have a personal voice. I've got a voice of brand. And that's something I really wish I could get my teeth stuck into. I unfortunately have chosen a career path that doesn't allow me to delve into that very deeply and like understand it on a business level. Like whether that be a consumer or the provider. But like, if I was a band now, all I would want is 10,000 listeners on Spotify.
Totally.
Because I would know that I would then be stable. But what does it take to get that? I can't tell you. I would assume it takes a buttload.
Absolutely.
An absolute buttload.
And I think also, speaking to sort of, if you go down the rabbit hole of algorithms and data and things, I'm very close with Jam Pack Productions in South Africa with Craig and JP and Co, where they look at analytics there and they make monetary justified, quantified decisions based on people and the amount of listeners they have in each country. So if anything, the good thing there is that if they want to bring out, for example, Our Last Night, right, they've come out twice now, and other bands, they can actually make an educated decision without losing money of how many listeners they have in each country. So it's really good that they can make those decisions just based on that, which is amazing.
Yeah, actually, I mean, you make a good point. I mean, the fact that now with streaming services, you can get those sort of metrics that tell you those kind of things? What's the age profile of the people that are listening to your music? Is it male or female? What region is it in the country? I think those are probably things that were not really at people's fingertips a couple of years ago.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And the metric is everything. I think you've got all the top artists in the world right now basing their biggest shows on metric.
100%.
What is the metric for our budget of $1 million for a Lady Gaga show at the O2 Arena in London? You're going to sell it out 5 times. What's our supply and demand? Then it comes down to the economics of it. And I think it's like data is, I think it's just changing the world.
100%.
Whether it be with like YouTube, Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, whatever it is, whatever the platform, Facebook and Instagram, it's unbelievable what data does. And it's unbelievable how that actually manipulates music. Because, how much music is coming out these days that you can say that you like, and I don't think that's quantifiable because there's so much. So,
100%.
at what point can you define the metric?
And if I take it one step back, just from less of the businessy kind of things, it's just us as listeners. When last were you really excited to get an album? So if I think a couple of years back, right, I remember getting pocket money from my parents, right, and I would get 100 rand, right, and I'd go to the CD stores back then, Music or whatever the case was, and I would buy, I don't know, the Perfect Circle album or whatever it was back then, and I used to adore and love that album, and I would listen to it to death.
Precious, man.
Absolutely to death.
And if you crack the case,
you're in trouble.
You're ashamed of yourself.
Now I think about the way that I often listen, and there's a story there, right? There's artistic value between song number 1 and song number 10, the way it flows, the way it is. But now it's more single related, where you've only got certain amounts of your listener's ear, where you have those seconds at the beginning of the song. You've got that minute that for you to really draw them in. And I think, when we listen to bands, we had a whole album. We had the whole afternoon to explore if we actually like this artist or not. Now it's a flip of the button. I don't really like that. I don't really like that. 10 seconds in, 1 second in, I might not like the name, So it's, in so many ways, it's also so crucial that the artists do what they need to do, as in do their homework. What makes an artist pull people in within those couple of seconds as an unknown band?
I think at that point there is no more track numbers.
Yes,
there is just albums. They don't have track 1, 2. Like if you had to ask me 5 years ago, what's your favorite Metallica song? I'd be like track 4 on Ride the Lightning. Thank you. Be like, what's the song called? Be like, I don't know. It's just track 4 on my CD player. Now it's like, I know the name of the song, and it's this band that you've never heard of, and it's on Spotify.
And for any sort of, if anyone is listening that's coming from an up and coming band that wants to sort of figure out and get inspiration from what the world is now, I'd highly recommend a band called Sleep Token. Sleep Token themselves have absolutely mastered the craft of single releases
and traction
and traction that they gain, because each one has different artwork demonstrated amongst each single. They've got different merchandise to each single.
A new piece of merch for every single.
They've really nailed it. So if you want inspiration, go check those guys out.
Of a 13-song album, 12 songs were singles.
Yeah.
That's unheard of for me.
Yes.
12 singles of a 13-song album.
That's it.
And they all were left for a month or 2 months to be listened to and got millions and millions of views. And they sold a piece of merch for every single, and they made a lot of money.
That's it.
But they still maintain their identity, and they are still independent.
100%.
That is mastery of the thing, which I don't think a lot of people have. I do not understand social media like that. I don't understand social traction like that. I think I'm past that point, or I just haven't put in enough effort. That is, to me, absolutely mind-blowing.
And I think if I can jump the topic on something is what we've seen here moving to the UK about discovering new bands. I think that's the other thing, right? You got the platform Spotify, but there's the main platform, which is the stage. And I think there's been so many bands that we've seen together where you want to go see the main act, and you get there and there's actually somebody else. There's the 2 or 3 bands before that you go like, holy shit, these guys are and I've never listened to them before. They've never hit my algorithm before, and we can't sidestep the fact that there's nothing that beats live music, and just being there, having no expectation and going, wow, these guys are really good. You know what I mean?
Going to a live show, I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, Drew, just for you now, I mean, you being in South Africa, obviously, let's go pre-lockdown.
Yes.
What are the last 3 live shows you went to?
Yeah.
So,
and this, sorry, but I just want to caveat that this is not a dick measuring competition.
No, not at all.
Out of curiosity.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying the sort of blues rock kind of music scene at the moment. So, catching Dan Patlansky playing at the Barnyard, or I don't know if I've mentioned to you, but I've got a friend who's got a venue in Observatory. It is actually in the basement of his house, and it holds 60 people. And he gets the likes of Dan Patlansky, Ross from Prime Circle. He had Jesse Clegg there. You know, he's had a number of artists there. Vonneboom.
Sounds very bootleg, like 60 people in a basement. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then what he does is that you pay 500 Rand, and you get your meal. You help yourself to drinks, and you get the show. And then, so you get there, welcoming drink, have dinner, go watch the show. At halftime, there's coffee and cake, and then you watch the second part of the show, and then you get to hang with the artist afterwards. So Dan's probably played there about 10 times over the last couple of years. And it's such I just love it because it's so intimate, and I've done a couple of podcasts there, Ross from Prime Circle, the guys from Vonneboom, Sito. So it's really, the conversation that I've had with them is they like that venue because it's very intimate and it's very chill and, that kind of thing. But they're also quite intimidated by it as well because they said, especially like Dan, I mean, he's been doing it for plenty of years. But he says that it's like it feels very stripped down, and he feels like every mistake that he makes is like the person sitting there right there watching him. But
it's also a little bit culty, maybe.
And I mean, and people love it. I mean, the shows are always sold out. Whoever's playing there. So then also to answer the question, there's a band here called Black Harbour that I've become mates with the lead singer, guitarist, the front man of that band, and he's played at the Radium. He plays at the Hard Rock in Johannesburg, and then there are also some other venues like Calexico, which is in 44 Stanley, which is Auckland Park. Unfortunately, Calexico is closed now because of the whole lockdown. But the guy, the owner of that, Larry, he would often get Honor Carstens to come play there. You had Black Cat Bones, quite a few of the. There's another band here in South Africa called Georgetown, the Afrikaans guys, but they play like this hillbilly country music. And it's very catchy. It's very entertaining. If you're going out there and having a beer and you got this live band playing there, it's pretty cool. I must admit, I really enjoy that. Yeah. So I do enjoy going out and supporting the local guys. I haven't been to because I mean you were talking about Rumors. Rumors used to be in Weltevreden Park.
Yeah.
It then moved to opposite Cresta Center, where the old Standard Bank used to be. It became Rumors City or whatever it is. I've never been there. It's so funny, like when a place moves venue, for some reason, even though the place was good before, you just like, somehow, it's like when the Doors moved from Joburg to Edenvale, you just didn't go, kind of thing. Well, eventually I went to the Doors again. But, so I haven't been watching any heavy metal stuff or metal stuff, but I have come across a band. I did send you a link some time back, Nick, a band by the name of Deadline.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
And man, I've been looking forward to catching these guys live. And the one time they were playing at Rumor City, and I just couldn't make it. Something came up, couldn't make it. I was very disappointed that I couldn't make it. But I'm looking forward to lockdown lifting,
Yeah.
So that I can go catch these guys live, because I mean, they make no excuse about the fact they're a 1987 metal band.
I love that. Identity is everything, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is what we're doing, and we're not changing it.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I chatted to Carlos Sanchez, who's the front man of that band, 2 podcasts ago. And, he was just saying that, they do this because they enjoy it. And, they're not trying to be anything that they're not. They just love doing what they're doing. And, so that's what they, sorry, that's just my daughter pulling in there. She's just decided to color her hair. So she's just coming to brag, I suppose.
Cool.
Yeah, so he said they're just enjoying what they're doing, and they're not, they realize that it's not really a genre that people are really into, but there are people, he said, put it this way. So the kind of people that are into that are the older generation people, the guys that are into Iron Maiden and, those like Metallica, early Metallica kind of stuff. Yeah. But I really enjoy their music. It's nothing new. It's nothing mind blowing or whatever, but it is just enjoyable music to listen to. And I mean, it's just like, how many times have I listened to The Trooper from Iron Maiden? How many times have I listened to Metallica? It just never gets old for me. And of course you want to find new bands, and and like you say, I mean, you're sharing it with one another. You're going onto Spotify, you're finding new artists. You're going and watching a live show and seeing someone that you hadn't seen before. But I mean, let's just talk about the music scene in South Africa, just on the metal or the hard rock side. I mean, what sort of? Because I mean, you get a lot of the sort of how can I say? The more commercial type of music, radio kind of music that those events are supported, the prime circles, etc. I mean, we were talking early on about what was that place you mentioned in Kaya Sands? Tempos, yeah. I always forget the name of that bloody place.
In the world, man. It's where dreams.
That's the one.
That's where dreams went to be made true.
That's it.
Yeah, I used to love that place. I mean, I remember when they used to have those death metal nights, and you go watch Chromium and Nave and I don't know, several other pig squealing bands. But
yeah,
dude, that was the one, man. I love that place.
And like where you could actually go and have a proper mosh, and no one's going to give you any shit. And if you're not moshing, you're not part of the scene. Eh?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I mean, I've been gone 3 years now. I mean,
I'm just going to excuse myself for a comfort break.
He's going to have a comfort break. I mean, as far as and it's a hard one, right? Let's just caveat metal as a very, very large, broad term of what we would describe from the Iron Maiden-esque to anything that's got some sort of a screamo element to something that's got a bit like if I may say, a heavier guitar tone, dare I say that, to something more progressive. It's a large variety that we have in South Africa, but I think the platform is slowly dwindling. And when I mean the platform, I mean, venues that are opening and closing, traction as far as the audience and the way that they're coming to shows. It's not it's not massively as popular as pop music or hip hop or techno or anything in South Africa, even though Afrikaans scene is massive. But I think metal in itself has its peaks and its troughs, right? So if I think back a couple of years ago, and I'm speaking sort of like early 2000s, my brother was in a band called Even Flow, who used to play with like Sarin Gas back in the day, Pestro, etc. And that was sort of like the peak of that industry at the time, right? Where they used to pack out shows at Carnival City. There was no international act that needed people to buy tickets to go to, right? So it would just be packed, and there was a sort of a booming scene. And slowly through the progression of things, I think it's become harder and harder on venue owners, on bands, on all of them to have this pressure of keeping the scene alive. So I know that, like you're saying, one venue's already closed in 44 Sunny. Yes, COVID related, I understand that, but that's just general news on what bands are facing at the moment. So if I put myself back even 3 years, and I know, I'll come to what I'm thinking is happening now, but 3 years ago, we had our big shows and we had our great shows, but there were only a select few, right? And you can't blame the audience from not coming over and over again, because ultimately it was maybe the same bands, it's the same venues, it's the same drink specials, There's only so far you can take that, right? It's there's only so many rotations of bands that can hold an evening, and I think that's important. Is the lineup that you have is not it's not a popularity contest. It's bands that are legitimately there for stage time, bands that can pull off and bring people there. Now what we're seeing is that arguably the shows that are having the biggest traction are the ones where there's international acts appended to it. So we look at the Platteland in Pretoria, who had Our Last Night and others, which again jam-packed productions doing, and that's packed. That's like 1,000 people, right? I mean, it's a huge thing for metal. But again, take away the international act, and I don't know what it would be, and I might be slammed for this afterwards, which is I'm fine with. But really, if you take a step back, I think there needs to be some sort of revival, and the revival needs to be in someone's basement,
yes,
on a farm somewhere, on something, and if there isn't a scene, we need to maybe grow it a bit more again. It needs to be something where there needs to be a platform for more bands to play, for more people to witness, and it's not the same old thing. Maybe that's the rut that not rut. I mean, it's booming now, but maybe that's where the growth. We're on that tipping point of growth in the music industry as far as that underground. It just needs a bigger platform.
Yeah.
Something. I mean, like just on that point of venue, there's something that I found. Basically, when I moved from South Africa, I didn't care where I went to watch a band. The dingier, the better. The bigger, the smaller. It didn't matter. I just wanted it to be a good experience, whether that be for drinks, whether that be for music, whether that be for socializing. It didn't matter. I just wanted to be there. And Tan's Cafe is a place that comes to mind for me. Yeah. Like I used to love Tan's Cafe in Riverside and Tan's Cafe by Hooters in Fourways. Both amazing venues. I didn't really care what was happening there, but on the nights it was good. It was memorable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It didn't really matter what the band looked like. If it sounded great, it was amazing. And the thing that I found so interesting and that I tried to wrap my head around for so long in London, and it only sort of really clicked in like the last 2 years, I'd say. There's this sort of hierarchy of venues.
Yes.
And you graduate from each one, both as a spectator and as a band. You arrive fresh off the boat, still got calluses on your fingers from playing the guitar. You've got a single on Spotify, and you go and play at the Underworld.
Yes. In
Camden Town.
All right.
And you do maybe 200 people. 6 months later, you come back from wherever you're from, and you play at Electric Ballroom. And you play to maybe 500 people.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Then you graduate again and you play Coco, which is also in Camden Town, and you play to maybe 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And you still see the same faces that you saw at the other shows before.
Yeah.
And this band, you can just see the look in their face. They're like, I can't believe this is happening. We're graduating. And the next time you see them at what would it be, like O2 Brixton?
That's it, yeah.
The O2 Academy in Brixton, or like Electric Brixton, I think would be the next one.
That's it.
And you play in this old theatre that is held in such revere and such high regard by anyone that's been there to see a show. And you can see it on the band's face. They are absolutely enamored by this whole experience, and they're so humbled. And for example, 1st of December 2019, Alistair and I and a friend of ours showed up in Brixton on a Sunday night. Sunday's the day here.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. Sunday is the day to have a show.
Yeah.
And on a Sunday night at 6 p.m., freezing bloody cold, sleeting, wind blowing, all wrapped up, and we're in a queue for about, 300, 400 meters, and we're going to see a band called North Lane. And they are being supported by a band called Polaris and a band called Void of Vision.
Void of Vision, yeah.
And we're queuing, and we're so excited to see North Lane, and we go in there, Boy Division comes on the stage. You can see they are shitting in their pants. And I absolutely smashed it. The whole crowd was just behind them because they're like, we're with you, man. You've now arrived at Electric Brixton.
That's it.
And then Polaris came on stage. And they have put in so much effort and so much energy, and these guys really deserve it. And the whole crowd is behind them again. But then it takes another level when North Lane comes on the stage, and you just cannot believe the support just from the vibe and from the energy that a band can receive here. And that's something that I never felt in South Africa. And that's not to knock South Africa. Please, I don't want to come across. I don't think either of us want to come across as like negative Nancy's.
No.
South Africa, like, I appreciate it. It's a different culture, a different system. But like, you know, like this London system is so much appreciation for the artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
You sort of grow with the artist. I feel like I've grown with North Lane. Like on all their releases, and I've seen every show of theirs here, for example. Like, I feel like I'm on the journey with them, and that's something that like I really discounted in South Africa because I was just like, oh yeah, it's them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's that.
100%.
Like, you know, and that's something that I really have like learned to appreciate now. Is like, hey man, look at these guys growing. Like, I'm growing up with them. Sure, I'm 33. Hi. You know, I feel like I'm growing with these guys because they like, I can see the energy that they're putting into, and like I can see their progress. And I can stand in the crowd, and I can be in the mosh pit, and I can stand at the top on the balcony, and I can look down, and I'm just like, I have pride for the fact that I'm there. And like, that's something I've never had in South Africa.
Yeah.
And that's not to take South Africa. It's just something that never really germinated in me.
And I think back in the day, I think they had a system like that, right? It was like, you go Roxy's,
Cool Runnings 4Ways,
Tempos, larger festivals, etc. There was that elevation, right?
Poppy was your
yeah.
And you as you grew up, you figure out how the stage works, how to engage a larger crowd, how to actually work on a bigger stage with bigger production. That's also a very daunting thing, right? It's like you can't just put a small band on a big stage. You know, there's time that needs to develop.
The first time you get hit with a strobe light in the face, you're my God.
Maybe to say that is, you know, what's actually happening. I think maybe all venues they're all competing on a level where they need to pack out the place. Yeah. They need to have really good production, and I take my hat off to that. But it's sort of like, what's larger than that other than a festival? You know, it might need to be bigger venues. It might need to be that graduation that used to happen many years ago of like progression of bands, so that, you know, maybe there's a bunch of followers and different kind of audiences where they go and they want to discover new bands. They can go to the likes of the Roxy's, which is maybe the underworld here in the UK, where they can go, I want to watch undiscovered bands, and I'm going to go and I'm going to enjoy it. Versus there's three headlined by the title band.
That's it. And you're going to discover 3 new bands.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or you get the guys who go, well, I'm not going to go to every show all the time. I'm going to go to the bigger shows, and then know that no matter what, they're going to go to that venue or venues, and they're going to have the best experience, and they're going to go and they're going to see top of the mill professional bands that have gone through the ringer. They've gone through these things. So when they get to that point, they're there. And I think this is you know, when you're saying around sort of the basement area, it's just people are starting maybe to pick up on that, maybe to go, I'm going to start creating my own thing here, you know, where I'm going to create my own environment. I'm going to create my own thing, because maybe it's just not happening as much as what it needs to in South Africa.
Because there's a certain loyalty that's created in that basement thing,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you are going to be quite upset if you miss one of those shows, especially if someone's playing that you love, because you know it's a nice environment. And like, that's something here that like I found so comforting. I mean, when I first moved here, I didn't have any friends. I didn't know what I was doing. I was floundering like a fish. I was like, I've made the biggest mistake of my life. But I went to my first show. And my first show here, I went by myself. And I went to a metal show. It was Parkway Drive. And I was like, dude, I feel like I'm at my friend's house. Like, sure, I'd like to be speaking to someone, but it's okay to hang here in the corner and watch a band. Because like, it was totally comfortable. And like, there's a certain comfort that like comes with being able to do that. And I think that basement idea of your friend, I'm sorry to keep harping on about that. I just think that's awesome.
It's a great idea. But Drew, what do you think as far as the metal scene and what you've been seeing in South Africa? I mean, you know, we're speaking from a 3-year sort of range of not being there. But I mean, you know, maybe this is the question. What's inhibiting you from going to more metal shows? What is the thing, maybe not to put you on the spot, but, what is your perspective on the scene?
Well, I suppose for me, I suppose there are a couple of things. I suppose, first of all is, the bands, not knowing about the bands that are out there. How I found Deadline was I saw something come across Facebook about the South African Metal Awards. And I thought, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. Let me go check who's been nominated. And then I found the bands, and then I went and found them on YouTube or wherever and listened to some of their music and thought, okay, no, not really my thing. No, okay, don't like that. Oh, Deadline, I love this. Right. And then why did I never get to go see them? Well, life is a bit busy, and it just happens that it'll be on a night that I can't be there. So that's one thing. The other thing is, having the friends to go to those gigs with. I mean, I don't mind going to a thing on my own, but generally you want to go with your mates, So I don't really have the mates that are into that kind of music. So, I mean, Nick mentioned Andrew Webster, who's still a buddy of mine. But I mean, he's married now. He's got a kid. He's not really into going out anymore like that.
Yeah.
Right.
No, so involved. I remember him right in the front there, just getting absolutely body slammed in the mosh pit. Cool, bro.
No, he's a new man. He's a new man. Different man. Yeah. Different man. And I mean, I respect it. I appreciate it. I mean, I've had my kids. I've also had the same thing. My kids are teenagers now. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But so I mean, that's also another aspect that you don't really have the mates that are into that kind of music to go to those shows with. And and also the thing is that, like, you almost need to make a decision. Like, say for instance, let's say Deadline's playing at Rumor City. You got to make a conscious decision that I'm going to go to Rumor City to watch them. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas the other kind of music that like the blues rock kind of thing. Well, I'm going to go to my favorite beer garden joint place, and those guys are going to be happen to play there anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like almost like there's this, this culmination of two things. I'm going to a place because I'm enjoying craft beer. So I go there and I drink a craft beer, and they happen to have these kind of guys playing there on a Saturday afternoon or on a Friday night or whatever. So I think, and it's just like convenient, if you know what I'm saying, because like now my mates are coming with me because they don't mind listening to that music, and because metal's an acquired taste.
Yeah,
very much so.
For many people. And
you hear it every day.
Yeah, every day.
Every day I hear about it. Yeah.
So, and I mean, like for me, it's just, man, I just love listening to that kind of music. I mean, it's almost like my stress reliever is to listen to that kind of music. If I'm really feeling shit, then I'll put on some Metallica, I'll put on some Iron Maiden, I might put on some Trivium. I'm loving the Architects at the moment, so Architects, love it. I mean, there's that one song. I think I sent you the video the other day. I don't know. I can't remember. Getting old. Is that
Great
yeah? But like it's the live one. Oh fuck! I just love the way it just comes in. So
I've got a story to tell on Architects. I'm going to come back to it. Please carry on.
Okay. No, so and I suppose in a way this whole COVID thing does make you sit back and think about these kind of things. So obviously, a lot of these venues are under stress and strain. The musicians are in the same position, and like you start thinking about, what's going to happen when lockdown lifts? I mean, are there going to be fewer venues? Hopefully they're not going to be fewer musicians, but does that mean that certain venues are going to have to change, pivot? Are there new venues that are going to open up? Is this creating new opportunities for other people that might have a different view on how to draw bands to the place? how to get people to come and watch them. You never know. I mean, there are lots of negative things, but there are lots of positive things that can come out of that. And one of the things is like in my head, I'm like saying, well, actually, after chatting to Carlos from Deadline, I'm like, actually, you know what? I've been a bit slack when it comes to supporting these guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an effort to go and actively seek out some of their gigs, and hopefully get introduced to other bands that they're going to be playing with on the same night that I might not have been exposed to. So, like for me, it's a personal commitment that when the lockdown lifts, I'm definitely going to make a bigger effort to go and seek out bands that I want to go and watch, rather than just happen to see a band at my favorite drinking joint, as an example.
And I think, Drew, I really take that point, because I think I take my hat off to anyone who owns any venue. I think it is immensely difficult, because I think, like you're saying, it's so layered in the way that you experience something, right? And I think, if it's from the food to the drink to the where I can sit or stand, is there an outside area? We are very creatures of comfort. You know what I mean? Where you're sort of like, I want to have a place that I can go and I can go chill and I can have a good vibe. And I think maybe on that, and one thing we've been seeing, if we can digress into UK, South Africa learnings and some of the things we're seeing, is some of the greatest venues, sure, they might be known for metal, but in so many other ways, they are 100% known as a music venue. So you will get the worst beer in the world.
They are completely uncomfortable. Yeah.
Uncomfortable, but you know that the music standard is, when I mean world class, I mean, think about your favorite band that you've ever wanted to watch. It's that band. So you don't care what beer you're drinking or what seat you're taking, right? But then there's the third one.
Or lack of seat.
Or lack of seat, and in someone's armpit who's really tall. But then there's sort of a third bucket that we start to see and starting to emerge here, where they're not renowned for any particular kind of music, but they're there for the environment. They're there for you just sort of being there, and you can get a good drink and a good seat, and you can just do your thing, right? And
they're not going to put on a shit show.
And it's not like, I'm not going to go there because I know that's a metal venue, or it's a pop venue, or it's a dance venue. It could be any venue, right? So the environment might be cool. The one thing, maybe not food, but the one that comes to mind is Electric Ballroom in Camden.
Yes.
Where they have, on some occasions, they have what they call... what is Garrick's party?
Guilty pleasures.
Guilty pleasures. They have guilty pleasures on some nights where girls and guys on roller skates, they have big disco balls, and they play Spice Girls, Venga Boys, the lot.
But 3 hours before, they had a death metal band.
Then they have a death metal where Nick nearly broke his coccyx on the floor because he was...
I was in the mosh pit and I'm 33.
You see what I mean? It's like...
I fell.
It's the whole thing around... It's around differentiating yourself in a way in which you can really engage with different kinds of consumers and different kinds of events. And I think that's a different thing. Is like, you'll think of a venue in South Africa and you think that was metal days and those are bands. Why does it have to be that way? Get more diverse perhaps, maybe have a little bit more DJs on the weekend or something, diversify, get different crowds in, because you'll often find that the consumer need then changes what you're stocking in the bar, what kind of food you have, what kind of arrangements you have. And it creates a different experience completely, where metal doesn't have to be dodgy, stinky toilets with terrible people. I can tell you now, in this place in the UK, some of the nicest venues I've been to have been metal venues, where the bathrooms smell like lemons and also clean, and people are respectful. It doesn't need to be that perception. You're right.
Yes, absolutely.
If to this venue and it's known for metal, some people might go, no, I'm not going to go there, man, because it's metal. So. Growing their revenue outside of other aspects, making themselves a more rounded venue, so that they can
pigeonholing yourself.
That's it. And growing in a way that you can be a brunch on a Sunday, no bands.
Yeah, exactly. Can I just loop back to something that you said, Drew, and then you just alluded to again, Alistair? Architects.
Architects, yes.
That band has taken me on a journey, Andrew.
Yes.
Everyone in the crowd, that band has taken me on a journey that I never thought I would go on in my life, and that was before I saw them live with their guitarist Tom Searle, R.I.P., dying of cancer, and still being able to play shows and being the lead writer, and then finally reaching this crowning moment in my life on January 18th, 2019. I saw them at Wembley Arena with you and a few other mates, and man, never in my life have I been taken aback so much by something that I had anticipated for so long. And there's been a lot of things in my life that I've anticipated and that I've dreamed towards, and I've achieved these goals, getting a degree or graduating or getting a job or, getting married, getting a girlfriend, having a child. There's all these things you can build up to. Never have I felt that sense of comeuppance. Like I've now achieved something in my life than I did with that. And I'm not sure if that's because of the band or because of the love I have for them or because of both. But I don't know if that's something I would have been able to do in South Africa. And the fact that I did it here doesn't take away from if I could have done it in South Africa. But
100%.
That just the fact that I could do it and that it was affordable and that it was accessible for me to do here made it even more pleasurable because it took no effort from me. I got on a train and I arrived. I got drunk. I had a great time, and then I got back on the train and I left and I got straight home. And I was just brimming with like happiness. And I can do that 3 times a week here.
100%.
With my like selection, and it's so affordable. I don't know how much a gig costs there now, Andrew. If you wanted to go, like you said, it costs 500 rand to go down into the basement. If you go watch Deadline at Rumors, how much would it cost you?
I don't know, $100, $200.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Here, for example, I'm like, I know the earning potentials are different and like the earning versus cost of living and stuff, but like here it can cost you £6 to £8 to go and see a band that you've heard on Spotify, but they're not really big. And it'll cost you £15 to go and see a band that you love and that have got 1 million listeners. And that's something, it's so accessible here. And like, I just think that that's something that's taken for granted in South Africa. You all have cars, but you all want to go and drink. Yeah. So, like, you can't go and see the show and have a good time. I feel like that's the perception.
I think we're very lucky now with the likes of Uber. I mean, if I'm going to a place, like if I go to that buddy of mine's place, in Observatory, I've never driven there. Because I know I'm going there to enjoy myself. I catch an Uber, cost me $300 for the night, 150 there, 150 back. And the nice thing is that you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about parking your car. You don't have to worry about driving back.
Zero worry.
Yeah, you can just go there and enjoy yourself. And if you happen to have too much to drink, it's fine as long as you can remember how to use your cell phone.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, man.
But I think it's a thing of like, we are, I'd ask you when else you went to metal shows and things, and it's very valid, Drew. I mean, you've got kids, you've got family, there's life that happens, right? Yes. I think the difference here is it happens so often that you can just be so selective in what you want, right? So if you can quickly get a babysitter or whatever, you can go on a Tuesday night and go watch that band that you've always wanted to watch. Yeah. But don't worry, because they'll be back next year if you don't watch them now, because they'll do a touring cycle.
And if you're very lucky, they'll be back in 6 months' time.
That's it.
Yeah. So how do you, like, for instance, like there, how do you find out about bands that are playing at particular venues? I mean, is it a case that you've rattled off a couple of venues?
Yeah.
And I mean, is it like you always go to those venues and you'll know that you'll see these bands, or are you finding out some other way that, there's this band and they're playing at that venue on that night?
So there's multiple ways.
Yeah. I'm okay. Like, let me just cover this. Like, I'm off all social media. Yeah. It just doesn't fit my vibe as a person. So I kind of rely on Alistair to like flip me the odd screenshot of Instagram and Facebook and all that sort of stuff.
So let's start with like some of the apps that we have here. We've got one that's sort of synonymous. It's the bands in town, and it scrubs your Spotify or Apple Music and your YouTube views, and it scrubs all the bands that are there. and it populates it, and it will literally tell you when those bands are playing, and it gives you a radius of where you live. So you say, I don't want to go, now that we're in London, I don't want to go to Newcastle, which is very far away. So you say, I want it within a certain mileage, and then it tells you what days they're playing on, and so you go. What's really great about the app is that you can then buy tickets straight from there. You can see what the lineups are, etc. So that sort of starting here in London. Maybe that was the beginning part.
Can I pause you there and just say what's also really crap about the app is that it's really crap.
Yeah, it really every now and again it gets some glitches and things, but I mean, I guess the main thing is that you can keep tabs of it. It adds it to your calendar so you can remind yourself. If you're a maybe, it gives you a reminder to say, oh, you're going to this event, etc.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's the consolidation piece, right? So everything in one place. Yeah. I think the secondary thing is being a fan of the band. And when I mean being a fan of the band is following them on Instagram, Facebook. Maybe you want to go on their sort of the mailing list, etc.
Yeah.
And you will often see I'll send screen grabs of we're doing our European tour, and you can scrub through and you can see, okay, they're playing in London or they're playing wherever, and that's how you start to find out, right? So broadly speaking, and we peter down, and then it goes into sort of more word of mouth, and then sometimes posters at the venue. So word of mouth would be this community that we spoke about earlier, where we got a couple of South African mates on a group.
I think it's 15 of us now.
15 of us, and they may be following a band that I don't necessarily listen to, and they go, do you want to come to the show? And they'll put it on the WhatsApp group, and you'll go, yeah, that sounds cool. I don't really know them. I listen to 1 or 2 songs I'll come with. But then sometimes, and when I mean, I'm saying 5% of the time, you'll see a poster outside the venue that'll say these dates, and you go, shit, I really need to go there. Now,
yeah, sure.
Then is it a particular venue? No. I wouldn't say it's a particular venue. I don't have a preference. In my opinion, because of the way that I think both of us landed in South Africa, from South Africa to here, I was exceptionally hungry to see bands. So I don't care if it's in a dingy darky or if it's the glitz and glam. I don't care that spectrum as long as I'm seeing that band. So wherever they go, we follow. As far as like Nic was saying, budgeting, it's really cost effective. And I think it speaks to the audience that we see. So we see a lot of younger, more students coming through.
But then you also see the 60-year-old guys standing at the back.
Or one of in our collars and stuff from work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It all a variety, because you're not breaking bank to see your favorite band. And I can only think back to times in South Africa where the one large big band that I remember was Foo Fighters at the FNB Stadium.
Yes.
And I paid absolute arm and leg for that Golden Circle ticket. I can't even remember, 1,200, whatever it was. I watched them London Stadium, and it was the same price, but in pounds to rand. But the competition, it ended up being cheaper because you took a train, you did your thing.
Yeah.
But where I can see my favorite band in Camden, and it's £10, which is 200 rand, and there's 4 other bands that I really love. So it's
international bands. Yeah, international bands.
So you've got to also pick and choose what you want to watch.
Yeah.
So the bands in town, if I may take a step back from that, is that when I said spoiled for choice, you'll often see 3 nights. Maybe they're maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or they might all be on Tuesday, where you've literally got to select which venue you want to go to due to the lineup, because there's so many options. So there's often been nights where we've gone, we can't go to that show, we'll go to that show, because you've got to pick. So, again, Drew, if you had to pick Iron Maiden or Metallica and they're the same night, which one would you pick? I mean, it's a hard...
Metallica. But it is like you would think about it twice.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I had that problem in my life.
Yeah, but what's great is that you also know they're doing 2 nights.
Yeah.
So one night, you're going to see the one the next night. But that's going to cost you a good £200. But I think what's nice is, you like get the venue thing, you get the accessibility thing because you get on a tube or a train, and you like get this massive selection. I know that last year, in the season, as they call it here, coming into spring and then into summer, like with all the festivals, all the bands are doing their rounds here. And from April till about August, September, we were booked in for 3 shows every month, like last year. And we peppered them with some more that we booked on the thing. But I can't sit back and say, you know what, one of them was crap. Well, apart from the one that we went to, I'm not going to mention any names because, listen, this is a podcast and I don't want to stand the band. The band was awesome, but the show was shit. So good for you guys. Don't ever charge £6 for a gig because it was crap.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say it.
Yeah.
And listen, like, loved it on Spotify. I saw it live and was incredibly disappointed. And that was like a big learning curve for me because I was like, we've got to go to all the shows.
Yeah.
And like now I'm just like, whoa, let's rein it in a little bit. And we did. And then Devil Wears Prada came up in December. So we saw North Lane at Electric Brixton. And then we saw the Devil Wears Prada straight from the part in Loath at O2 Academy Islington. And I've been a massive Devil Wears Prada fan, but I wasn't expecting that much from the show. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life because we were right up front and then they put it onto Spotify. And you can hear our voices.
Hear us screaming in
you can hear our voices on Spotify of the live show. And I was just like, dude, like, that means so much to me. They don't know that, like, I know that. And like, it's,
well done.
you know what I mean? And like, I don't know if I wasn't in the position to, or if I never put myself in the position to, but I never had that back home. And like, I'm so grateful and humbled by the fact that like, I've got the opportunity to do this. And what I just want to say is, before I sound like an arrogant prick and like trying to rub everyone's face in it, I'm really not trying to do that. Yo, if you can afford an air ticket to England, just look harder, and you can, if you had to come to London or England for 2 weeks, whether you're in Manchester, London, Southampton, Birmingham, wherever, you can go to 5 shows.
Yes, 100%.
And not break the bank. For less than the cost of a meal at the local coffee shop, you can go and see Trivium with Fit for an Autopsy and Black Dahlia Murder. Now, that might not mean a lot to you guys. Trivium might Fit for an Autopsy and Black Dahlia Murder for me. I like it. I like it dirty and heavy and fast and fucking like as hard as it will go. And like that will cost you £12. So guys, it's accessible and that you can do it, and it's so easy actually because everyone's there for the same reason, and that's I think what we should speak about next is like how amazing the crowds are.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk. I was going to ask you. I mean, early on, you were talking about the progression of the bands going from one venue to the next, and then you also mentioned that the same thing happens with the fans or the crowd. To speak about that, about you saying the progression of the fans from one venue to the next.
It's unbelievable, actually.
So I think that honestly, I think if you strip everything back, every little thing that we've been speaking about, venues, bands, production, I don't care how many fire blowing props you have on stage and how many basements you got at the bottom. Honestly, it's all about the audience, man. And I think there's something here, and I've been trying to put my finger on it, but I think it stems back years and years to like punk scenes in the 70s and like the Beatles and the mania around that, and like just when I mean the love for music, I mean unequivocally they will drop anything for that band. They will be there on that night, right?
They'll camp outside just to be in the front.
They will be there when I say it gets cold here, us as South Africans, it gets cold here, guys. It gets really cold, right? It's like
it still sucks, bro.
It's cold. And
it still sucks.
But there we are in the cold, in the rain, waiting in the queue so that we can get a good seat to watch the band. And that time in the queue far exceeds the amount of time we see the band. So there's a sense of passion that comes towards the crowds, right? So, and I think it happens in so many ways. I think the first thing is that they will buy the tickets and they will sell out your show because they realize and they know, they're very conscious that if they don't come to show, the musician doesn't eat, the musician can't then go on tour, the musician can't get the tickets for them to get more production and labels and things,
and come back
and write really amazing albums, right? So if they don't support, that band's gone. So if you love the band, you're going to go there because you know you're supporting them, right? And that means you are there for the experience. So I think conversely to what we were chatting about around the drink and the food and that experience, their experience is the band. They couldn't give a shit if it's like one bathroom in the back, which doesn't happen. It's a bad excuse, but the experience of I'm there for the band and I will watch them and I'll go. Now, that way, the crowd that reacts to the music That's what makes it for me.
Yeah.
That's ultimately. So if we think about these smaller shows in Underworld, for example, which is about 200 people, those people go off. And when I mean off, I mean there's sweat off the ceiling. There's people that are like jumping into like each other and sort of like their security just are manic. And guys, this is a Tuesday afternoon. You know what I mean? It's like a Tuesday. It's not even the main event that they're having as a venue.
It's 5 p.m. Gigs start here in the week at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
At 5 p.m. So you come straight from work, in your suit, into the pit. Where you go down the stairs and you're in there, you're drinking a beer and the band starts. The first band's on at 5, the last band's on at 10. And you know,
and it is every single band.
They pay you in kind. The crowd pays you in kind.
They're like, thank you.
We're here for you, bro, and we need you to come back, because if you don't come back, I've got no excuse to leave my parents' house and go and do something cool. And like that's from the youth up until like someone like me, for example, is just like, dude, I need to see a live show.
Yeah. And it's a sense of like, if you just get involved in it, right? So people listen to it so much because we're commuting a lot. So yes, everyone's got cars in SA, I get that, but like here more than ever, everyone's got their headphones in all day long, whether you're working,
every day,
whether you're commuting. So you're constantly listening to that band. And when you get the opportunity to watch them and in some cases meet them, you will be there, right? But then so this is, I'm speaking sort of the smaller venues, but like the larger ones, if I come to the Architects thing, is that because of the way that people have been following the band and Tom with cancer and him passing away, the crowd were feeling emotional for them, and you can feel it. You could look around the venue, and when
crying. What
is the Wembley Arena? 15 to 20,000.
20,000.
You can feel, and you can look around the venue, and you can see people crying. You can see people hugging each other because he had passed away.
Just a little point: it's the SSE.
SSE, yeah,
not Wembley Stadium.
And I think that's the difference. It's like they follow and they know what's going into the music. They know
follow the story. Yeah, they follow the narrative.
So when you get there, it's a story that's being told. And if I may just share a story of Architects in Germany, where I saw them in Germany in Rock am Ring. It was probably one of the best moments I've ever had in my life speaking about an audience, because again, in Germany they have a very similar scene. It's very much that they're extremely passionate about their music. They'll be there. And Architects were playing, again, open show, so it's on the Nürburgring, so you're on the gravel of it all, and you're there. And they're playing, and it was raining. It was pissing down with rain. And he sort of stopped to come out. And this was the tour where this was the first one where they were doing without Tom. Right. And he came out, and it was raining. And then as he started to give, I knew because I'd watched them at Wembley, this was the time he was going to come out and say stuff about Tom. And I remember it sounds almost too good to be true, but I'm going to say it exactly how it unfolds.
Yeah, say it.
But in the moment where the music had dropped and he was out in the front, the rain had stopped, and he came out and said, "Guys, I don't know if you know about this guy Tom. He was in the band," and I swear to God, I would say about 30,000, 40,000 fans, all of them got onto their knees, all of them in the rain, all of them got down onto their knees. You could probably find on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
For Doomsday. All of them got down on their knees, and they started to do like a bowing motion like this.
Yeah.
All he had said was, "I don't know if you guys know, but Tom." Yeah. And that's what to say. And 30,000 people got down. And all of them were doing this thing, and they were chanting, and they were like, yes. The band were in tears. The fans were in tears. And I remember him saying, and this next song is called Doomsday, and sort of as it kicked in, everything erupted, right? And here's the difference, is that people aren't scared of expressing their emotion. It's not that they lost Tom. It's that they lost somebody in their life that they could express at that show. That they maybe not physically, maybe the person hasn't passed away, or a relationship, or a something that's happening there. And they could express it in a free environment that was free of judging, free of anything, but they could just be who they needed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference here, is that you could do what you need to do and feel the way that you need to feel.
Yeah. Just give me a second. What's happening here?
Okay.
How dark it is. Yeah.
What if it's black?
No, it's not black. It's fine. Your hair's wet.
Hi.
Hey.
This is my youngest daughter, Emma.
Hi, Emma.
She can't hear you.
Emma, I think I know you actually, because I probably met you when I was teaching your dad guitar.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Sweet. Sorry, man. Well,
Yeah, dude,
Intermission.
listen. Yeah, intermission. Dude, I really need to go for another comfort break. I have a little kidney, like a little fish.
Fine, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, dude, look, guys, I don't know how much time you got. I mean, we don't have to break your world record here.
How long is your podcast normally?
Normally about an hour. Whatever.
Where are we sitting now?
Oh, it's just about an hour and 10. So, but I'm not cutting it off. I'm not cutting it off. I'm just saying.
It's fine. You, bro.
Putting it
Come
out
on.
there.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go for a comfort break and we'll chat for another 15 minutes and then we'll.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I mean, there's nothing stopping us continuing the conversation at a later stage. So
I'm down.
Always good. Yeah. So I mean, that's quite an amazing story. I mean, I don't know. I don't often feel that going to a venue or going to watch a concert in South Africa. It's pretty Nick's gone now, but one of the comments that a lot of musicians have made here in South Africa, and obviously it's not the metal genre of music, because I don't think this would be too much of a problem in that situation. But when the guys are playing, let's talk about blues rock and whatever. So it's pretty heavy. I mean, Dan Pentlansky, I mean, he can turn the volume up there, you know, and he says one of the things that, and this is where the crowd comes into it, both in a positive way and a negative way, is that they often comment about how people are not engaged while the guy is playing. Yeah. And Dan's mentioned it, the other guys, Vonneboom, Sito, they've mentioned it as well, is that when they're playing a venue and let's say they're not playing a heavy song, but people are sitting there having a conversation and they're not engaged with the artist. And in a smaller venue, it's a lot more noticeable than in a larger venue. Because like, like if there, a couple of thousand people, and you're on this big stage and there's this big gap between the audience and the artist, there's that separation and they get up there and the lights are on. But when they're playing a little bit more of an intimate thing, that, there's this constant conversation happening. And the artists, sometimes they like almost feel disrespected in a way. And, I mean, some of them have said to me, like if they go and on that night people are engaged, they can feel the energy and they put in more effort. They don't just go there and play their song. They go there and they put something extra in it and they'll, it's a little bit of improvisation there, that kind of thing. They'll dial it up a bit or whatever. So it's a difficult one for me because and I also get irritated as part of the audience. I'm there, I'm trying to engage and listen and take in what's happening, and you got these people sitting next to me having a full-on conversation. It's like going to the cinema and some idiot is on his cell phone, It's that kind of vibe.
And I think you got to ask yourself the question of why are you going in the first place?
Yes.
And you can only think back to any of those times where you think, am I going for the band? Am I going to the venue just for some mates? Whatever the fact is that I think as an audience member, you always got to consider why you're there and got to respect the craft of which the artist is coming out on, right? So again, there's different kinds of music with different kinds of things, right? So if you go into the blues realm, right? So blues is highly intimate, highly so technical, but also so brilliant in the way that the improvisation happens live, right?
Yes.
Where if you're going to talk, you're going to miss something, and if you're going to miss something, don't be there. Yeah. Right. So why are you going there for an improvisation genre when you're going to have a conversation with your mates? Go to a bar, go to a pub and do that. Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to divert from the fact that there will be some people that go there and they're absolutely silenced by the talent that's happening. No doubt that needs to happen. But I think often, when you go to the shows and metal is fine because it's so loud, right? Let's be fair. It's so loud. I don't give a shit if a guy's talking behind me. I'm not going to hear you, but it's going to be that. But
that's cool.
If it's the subtlety of more of that kind of genre, right? So I watched a band called Nothing But Thieves, for example. They're a more sort of rock pop band. Incredible vocalist. And
They really listen to that band.
Again, the reason why people went there is because they knew that they were going to witness a really, really talented band, and they wanted to feel engaged, and they wanted a musical experience. Therefore, do you think you heard anybody talking?
Nope.
Absolutely not. Because they were there for them, not for me and myself indulgence with my mates. And maybe it is because of the fact that, again, I can only speak from the UK perspective. A lot of us go before the show and we go to the pub and you verbal vomit and you get everything out and you say, how was your day? I'm good, I'm fine, I'm good. How's the kids? How's the family? Whatever. So when you get into the venue, you're quiet. Yeah. And you're there, you can appreciate. And then maybe afterwards you go to a pub and you can talk about the show.
Yes.
I think there's that sense of respect, and I think it does come there, and it inhibits your engagement in your thing. But also, it's so deterring for the artist to be like, guys, do you know how much I put on the line here? You know how much I sacrifice to make these songs and rehearse and to pay these musicians if I'm a solo guy or whatever, and then you're just going to have a fat chat in the back. Come on, have a little bit more respect. Have a bit of, to be cultivated. It needs to be grown. It's a culture that's learned. It's a behavior that makes the experience so much better.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dude, if I can chime in here and say, if we're going to conclude shortly, can you maybe give the listeners and Drew, the bearded Finn, it's gone. I'm speaking to myself.
Yes.
Give you 5 bands to explore as listeners and as yourself. Maybe some insight into something you guys have never heard, and perhaps it's not in your algorithm.
Yeah. Are you asking me, or are you going to tell me those 5 bands?
Oh no, I'm going to tell you those 5 bands, and so is Alistair.
Okay. When Alistair's back.
Yeah, maybe you can give us 5.
Oh, geez, dude, I'll take my lead from you guys, man.
Because there's a lot to be said for like these groups that I've seen that are not so much metal, actually. That I like, that I've seen in London, and I'm proud to call myself a metalhead. But if you speak to my girlfriend, she's going to be like, "Yeah, but when you're at home, you're not like that much of a metalhead." I'm like, "No, it's just it's just because I respect your ears." Like every time I listen to metal, it's on my headphones because I just don't want to get the what is that? I just thought maybe like a little tier list. I've seen that's been quite popular on YouTube lately. Make a little tier list of maybe 5 or
top 5,
maybe 5 or 7 bands that you think people should put their headphones in and go and listen to those bands.
Okay.
I want to go first because I don't want you to steal mine.
Okay, fine.
You go. No, you.
I was having a pee, and now you suggested it's a maybe.
Hold me back.
Okay. Okay. So, I know that. I mean, probably most of the listeners and people that will be on here maybe more metal related. Maybe.
Yeah.
Would you say true?
I don't know.
Rock.
Let's
say rock. Right.
Yeah.
So, I think the first one would probably be.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks.
I think the first one would be probably Sleep Token, a band that has an incredible clean vocalist. That they are doing extraordinary things in the industry,
and a beautiful narrative.
And you don't know who they are. They wear masks, much like Slipknot, but not what you think. So Sleep Token, exceptional live band, great merchandising, great marketing. Sleep Token. I think the second one. Wow. If you're looking for another metal experience, I would maybe say Bad Wolves. Okay. And Bad Wolves are the ones that did the Cranberry Zombie cover.
Oh, right.
And people would recognize that and maybe think it's a Kill Switch Engage-esque version of the new sort of metal scene. It's not. Listen to the full album. It's incredible. The way that they mix melody with metal. It's fantastic. A more progressive would probably be, if you have not heard them ever before, it's probably Tesseract, progressive band from the UK. Incredible live, just incredible people as well. Shit. And maybe a fourth one would be Novelists, a band from France. They've just recently let go of their vocalist, Matt. but also a little bit of screaming, a little bit of singing, a really good,
incredible melody,
incredible musicianship as far as their craft. Shit, this is really bad. It's like picking your favorite children. I'm just looking through a list. I don't know, and maybe the fifth one. Maybe the fifth one, I would maybe say as an undiscovered band, I would say Void of Vision.
Wow, you're going for the undiscovered. Eh?
I'm going for the undiscovered.
So I'm going to have to cover the top of the cream.
That's the one,
okay,
yeah. And the reason for Void of Vision is because they reasonably undiscovered, light on their monthly listeners, but it's just incredible in the way that they've just come up in the ranks, and they are phenomenal live. 4-piece band, super hard-hitting, and good message.
Yeah, basically, as no one, they came into a beautiful venue and they just absolutely slammed and they didn't even blink.
Yeah.
They just absolutely rammed it. Cool. I'm just going to keep it simple, dude, because I just feel if you haven't already, do it again. And if you haven't, and if you have already, do it again. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to say Architect.
Yes.
That band is going to blow your mind for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And they have got an album catalog that will blow your mind for the past 6 years that you just missed. Although they've been around since 2006,
mm-hmm.
Their albums from 2009 until 2020, I mean, they will keep you going forever. Northlane.
Oh.
Northlane is a progressive metal, dark outfit from Australia, and they are incredible. I'm also going to say Pliny. Plini. Pliny, for me, it is the most gentle but most beautiful songwriting on a guitar-based progressive scene I've ever heard.
With no vocals.
With no vocals.
Yeah.
And if they do have vocals, it's very atmospheric and speaky.
Yeah.
And I want to stick to my guns, but like Issues. There's a band called Issues.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Issues. Their latest release, I didn't like it. Then I met them at a record store and I saw them live the next night, and my jaw hit the floor. As someone that was like, "Oh, metal, bro," my jaw hit the floor when I heard these guys. I just couldn't believe it. They have
R&B meets metal.
They have the most incredible bassist who speaks some foreign language to the drummer, and then the drummer has invented another language and he speaks to the guitarist, whilst the singer's just like just going on a vocal journey.
Yeah.
And then my final one is something that I've only recently got into and I'm still appreciating for what it is, and that is Invent Animate.
Right.
And it's hard. It's not easy listening. You don't put it on a dinner, but it is beautiful the way it's written. And just a little bonus one is the latest release of Currents came out on Friday, the 5th of June.
Yeah.
Go and listen. Go and listen. It is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So there's 10 bands that I'm going to go and check out. Well, I don't have to check out Architects, but I'll check them out again.
Yeah, do it.
Your advice.
Yeah.
I must admit, I don't know, the Architects is, I mean, when you sent it through, I think you actually sent me the video of you when you went to go watch them.
Yes, I did.
I hadn't heard from you for fucking ever.
Yeah,
and then I get this random video and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's like, why is Nick sending this to me now? It's like, hey, dude, what's this? No, I'm here. I'm watching Architects. I'm like, who's Architects?
I was just thinking about you. My mind. Yeah. It's like, here we go. You know what? I'm sending this to the Drew.
Yeah, thanks very much. I really appreciate that. So. And I've also got your Spotify song playlist that you sent me as well, which I'm working through.
And I think also if anyone is interested in any sort of way, they can search for probably myself, because he's not on social media, and reach out if you do want to get any sort of playlist or anything that's coming out. We often include a single. This is my dog Quinn. Sorry, she's making an appearance. There's Quinn. But if there is anything that we often pop in, like bands that we are watching or going to be watching, so we put singles in there, so we're constantly updating this kind of metal.
Yeah.
So if anybody want to reach out, they're more than happy to just reach out to myself, not this guy.
Yeah, because you can't reach me.
And more than happy to add them to playlists and things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
to London as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, Alistair.
If you guys want to go to a show with someone, if anyone's in London, hit us up. We'll go with you.
And we don't talk this much because this is a podcast. So we normally we will be way more reciprocating in real life.
So Nick, before we go, I've got one last thing to chat to you about. Is that I can remember? I mean, can you remember this? You were still looking after the box at Wanderers for De Beers, and I can remember sitting in your car listening to some of the new Visus music.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you remember what happened while we were sitting there in the car listening to the music?
No, I can't.
Can you remember they had all those tables and chairs in front of the car?
Yes.
And the next minute, some chick stood up, and then some. Anyway, I think people can use their imagination about what was going on there.
He was sitting there, and this girl got up, and I was like, Andrew. And he's like, I'm looking. And I was like, I know you are. So am I. What are we doing? Just act natural. Turn up the music. And then they heard the what's going on, dude? That was, you know what, dude? I missed those days, actually. Being in the sports box. Those were good days.
No, those were good days. We had good times there.
Good days.
But what I wanted to say is I still have not heard that album in its entirety. And I did chat to you about it some time back, and you said you would upload the music for me.
Visus?
Yes.
Oof. Bro, I need to find it.
If you can find it. I really would like to listen to that final album that you guys just never released.
Right, dude. I'm going to find it for you. Literally, I need to find it. I've tried to stay away from that. It brings back so many memories. And it was so disjointed. I never got it as a 12-song thing. I always saved it as like 3 songs. I will find it, and I will send it to you on Dropbox.
Please do. Thanks.
And you can have it.
Thank you.
All right. Cool, dude. No worries, man.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for your time. It was great catching up and meeting you, Alistair, and we'll do this again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You've been to a few shows.
Cool, man. So there you have it. That's this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed that little light chat about music. So towards the end there, Nick and Alistair gave us 10 bands that they recommend that you go and have a listen to. Go have a listen. Give us some feedback. Right, so don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcast. Follow the podcast on Spotify. And drop me a DM on Facebook or Instagram. And that, my friends, is the end. I'll catch you next time.